Ram Hare Ram, Ram Ram Hare Hare. I hope everyone have nectar of devotion with them. I'm not sure if we would be able to do the shlokas today. I wanted to discuss various things from nectar of devotion. If you have that nectar of devotion with you, please take that out and we'll quickly go through with whatever we have read so far. If you don't have nectar of devotion, please go to www.vedabase.com and there you can have the book. Just let me share on the screen as well. I hope it is visible to everyone's screen as of now. We'll quickly go through with whatever we have read so far, right? नाना शास्त्र विचारनैक निपुणौ सद्धर्म संस्थापकौ लोकानां हितकारिणो त्रिभुवने मान्यो शरणिया करो राधा कृष्ण पदारविंद भजनानंदेन मत्तालिकौ वंदे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्री जीव गोपालकौ. So now preface. We already covered it so far. I mean, we have read and discussed few aspects. So I just wanted to visit the main themes of preface and introduction and chapter 1. So Nectar of Devotion has how many verses? Anyone know? Just like Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses, Srimad Bhagavatam has 18,000 verses, Nectar of Devotion has 2,129 verses. So it's almost 3 times as many Bhagavad Gita, and the subject matter that is described in these verses is much more complex in terms of philosophical points and subtle nuances in rasas. So Nectar of Devotion's preface, it addresses two main subjects. First, it gives the brief history of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu with a biography of its author. And second, it discusses Bhakti Rasa as the primary subject of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Right? So the first point in terms of brief history, so Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. First of all, the term Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu means what? Sindhu is an ocean. Rasa Amrit. Amrit is nectar. Rasa. How does Prabhupada defines rasa? Anyone knows what is a rasa? What is the English equivalent that Srila Prabhupada uses of rasa? He says it is very difficult to translate. Yes, mellow. So the bhakti rasa the mellows of bhakti, which is nectarian, and the ocean of Rasamrit. What kind of Rasamrit? Bhakti Rasamrit. That's it. So we'll go term by term. What does bhakti means? Bhakti means devotional service. So bhakti connotes devotion or love, and love implies service. Service refers to that activity which is intended to please the beloved, right? So devotion is the most fundamental drive of every living entity. That's why Srila Prabhupada writes in preface as the basic principle of living condition is that we have a general propensity to love someone. But the loving propensity can be satisfied only when it is reposed in Krishna. We have been trying artificially to love our society, nation, family, and it has been expanding to so many ways, but that loving propensity is not satisfied. The main missing point is Krishna, who is the most beloved. So, the nectar of devotion teaches us the science of loving everyone, of living entities perfectly by the easy method of loving Krishna. So, then of course, Prabhupada explains the term rasa. Actually, this term word mellow is used by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, rasa literally means juice, so sweet and full flavored with ripened as fruits. Relationships are compared to fruits, and the pleasure we taste in a relationship is the juice or mellow of that relationship, that is the rasa. So, we need to understand that it is the taste of a fruit that attracts us to eat it. So similarly, the force that attracts us to certain activity or relationship is the taste we enjoy in it. That is why Srila Prabhupada later on writes in the preface that driven by affection for his wife and children, a family man works day and night. A philanthropist works in the same way for the love of the greater family, and nationalist for the cause of his country. So then there are two kinds of rasas. What are they? Somebody remembers? What are the two types of rasa which we discussed? Hare Krishna. Anyone? Am I audible? Yes, one is Bhakti Rasa. That's good. And what is the other rasa? Yes, mundane rasa, ordinary rasa. Good. So Bhakti Rasa is definitely incalculably superior taste. It is not only superior to sense gratification, but it is limitlessly superior even to the bliss of moksha. And then Prabhupada discusses about mundane rasa. That means mundane rasa has two characteristics. Can someone tell what are those two characteristics of a mundane rasa? Yes, it is temporary. That's the first characteristic. The mundane rasa is temporary. And what is the other one? It is chapala sukha, flickering happiness. So neither bhog nor tyag is the soul's natural position. So therefore soul cannot remain either in bhog or in tyag. It keeps on oscillating between the two. That is called as chapala sukha. But bhakti rasa is the natural position of soul. It means A soul can remain perpetually in bhakti rasa. If a soul is experiencing bhakti rasa, it need not go in any other position. And of course, it is so that is bhakti rasa. And Amrit is a nectar, which means it is deathless. It means eternal. It is the only rasa in the entire creation which is eternal. That is bhakti rasa amrita. So bhakti rasa amrit sindhu. So in in sense gratification, we may be able to procure few drops here and there, but it is an entire ocean of nectar of devotion, which is easily available to everyone, always. So by understanding this book, The Nectar of Devotion, one can dive deeply in that ocean. We are not simply meant to understand that ocean. Understanding means a reader of this literature would dive deep into that ocean. So that was the preface that we discussed in the last days. So let's come to the introduction. What was discussed in introduction? So just like uh, right, I hope the whiteboard is visible to everyone. So now any ocean has four divisions. It has an eastern side, it is a southern side, it is a western side and northern side. Eastern side, then there is southern side, then there is western side, and then there is northern side. It will come. It usually takes few seconds. So eastern side means Purvi Vibhag. Southern sides means Dakshin Vibhag. Western sides means Paschim Vibhag, and northern sides means Uttari Vibhag. Purvi, Dakshin, Paschim, and Uttari. So there are four divisions of this ocean of devotion. Srila Rup Goswami uses this in categorizing this literature. And now in each of this side, there are different waves. What are those waves? I hope it is visible by now. So each side has a different kinds of waves. So what are the waves that exist in the uh, uh, eastern side? That means Purvi Vibhag. This Dakshin Vibhag is known as varieties of bhakti. It is overview of devotion. It is devotional service in practice. Is devotional service in ecstasy. and devotional service in love of God. Clear? Can someone says there the technical terms? So the eastern side, that means Purvi Vibhag, there are various waves of devotion. Waves means leher. Srila Rupa Goswami uses different terms. लहर. तो जो पूर्वी विभाग है वो डील करता है भक्ति कितने प्रकार की होती है और उसकी डिटेल्स. तो यानी वैदी भक्ति, भाव भक्ति और प्रेमा भक्ति, ये तीन विभाग. नाउ द सदर्न साइड deals with overview of rasas. तो इसके अंदर जो लहर है वो है विभाव, अनुविभाव, अनुभाव, सात्विक भाव, व्यभिचारी भाव एंड स्थाई भाव. So the southern side, that means Dakshin Vibhag, deals with rasas. What does western side, that means Paschim Vibhag, deals with? It deals with primary rasas. And what are the different lehers? Shanta, that means neutrality. Dasya, servitude, and so on. All of you know that. I'm not writing. Shant, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, or Madhurya. So that comes in the western side. And in the northern side, it deals with what? It deals with all the secondary rasas. Anyone knows what all how many secondary rasas are there? There are five primary rasas and how many secondary rasas? No, seven. Anyone knows what are they? Certainly not 60. Seven. So one is hasya, one is astonishment. Yes, just like virya, cavalry. Is compassion. There is anger, fear, harshness, right? And then it also deals with mixture of these rasas. And it also deals with uh, how do we call it? Distorted rasas, rasabhas, not rasabhas. Uh, when two in capital rasas mixed together, this is distorted mellows. So this is the way Srila Rup Goswami divides this literature. Everyone clear about this? There is the Purvi Vibhag, which deals with varieties of bhakti. Under that, there are four waves: overview of devotion, Vaidhi Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. Then the Dakshid Vibhag, which deals with overview of rasas, different types of rasas: Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvik Bhav, Vyabhichari Bhav, and Sthayi Bhav. Then the Pashtimi Vibhag deals with the primary rasas: neutrality, servitude, friendship, parental, and conjugal. And the northern side, it deals with secondary rasas. That means laughter, astonishment, cavalry, compassion, anger, fear, ghastliness, and how the different rasas mix together, and the mixing sometimes produce incompatible rasas, distorted malus. So this is the overview of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. That means nectar of devotion. Now, in the first 19 chapters, that is the eastern side, eastern vibhag, varieties of bhakti. Usually, if you do Bhakti Shastri, entire nectar of devotion is not covered. Only the first 18 or 19 chapters are covered. That means it only deals with varieties of bhakti. Samanya bhakti, that means the general overview of devotional service. Then is sadhana bhakti, bhav bhakti, and prema bhakti. So these are covered in first 19 chapters. The chapter 1 covers the Samanya Bhakti, chapter 2 to 16. That means how many chapters? 17 chapters. Chapter 2 to 16. They are all on Sadhana Bhakti and its details. Now then the next two chapters, chapter 17 and 18, are on Bhav Bhakti. And chapter 19 are is of Prema Bhakti. You with me? Are you able to relate and understand? Any questions till now? Now, uh, let us come. Let us briefly revise the introduction part. What all we discussed in the introduction. Now, introduction had. Sorry, what was the request? Kindly last part. Which part specifically? So the entire Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, this literature, Srila Rup Goswami divides into the four categories: Purvi Vibhag, Dakshin Vibhag, Pashtimi Vibhag, and Uttari Vibhag. Now each Vibhag has different leher or waves. So the Purvi Vibhag deals with varieties of Bhakti, and it has four subdivisions: Samanya Bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. Dakshin Vibhag deals with overall rasas, different kinds of rasas: Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvik Bhav, Vyabhichari Bhav, Sthayi Bhav. The Pashtimi Vibhag deals with the primary rasas. That means Shant, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. And the northern side, Uttari Vibhag, deals with secondary rasas, which are seven in number: laughter, astonishment, cavalry, compassion, anger, fear, ghastliness. And it also deals with the mixture of these rasas and distorted malus. Is this part clear? How this entire literature is divided? Then we discussed that the first till chapter 19, it is only the Purvi Bhag, eastern side. It only discussed the different kinds of devotional service. So the chapter 1 dealt with the Samanya Bhakti. Now chapter 2 to 16, that means 17 chapters are based upon Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. They are based upon Sadhana Bhakti, not Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Sorry. because it's very technical. It's only I meant Vaidhi sadhana bhakti is just one type of sadhana bhakti. So they deal with entire sadhana bhakti. Chapter 17 and 18 deals with bhav bhakti, two chapters, and chapter 19 deals with the prema bhakti. Is it clear? Please, if you are not able to relate or are having any difficulty, do write in the chat section or unmute yourself and please speak. So now we are discussing about the introduction. In the introduction part is have three topics.
Prabhuji, I want to know what is this three topics?
Yeah, we will discuss once we reach there. Sometimes two rasas which are incompatible, they are mixed together.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
I am forgetting the technical name. I think it is rasabhas or what exactly is it? I need to check.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी
Yeah.
धनुषाम प्रभु जी ये थोड़ा सा समझना चाह रहे थे कि ये जो 4 पार्ट्स में जो डिवाइड किया गया है, 4 लहरें हैं, उसमें ऑलरेडी जब वैरायटी ऑफ भक्ति आ रहा है तो रसा तो उसके अंदर ही, मैलो तो उसके अंदर होता है, तो उसको 3 साइड्स में डिवाइड क्यों किया गया है? लाइक
No, it is based upon just like separately discussion के लिए separate रखा हुआ है. First, it deals about the different types of sadhana bhakti. Then bhav bhakti, what are its characteristics? What are the like 64 limbs of devotional services? And the discussion is primarily based upon those limbs, how to perform those activities, right? Right. And then the later part, in the next division, it specifically talks about rasas, about the mellows. It
ओके
is
ओके
one literature only. It is like within one literature, Srila Rupa Goswami has organized in this way. So when there is discussion of rasas, at least the devotees are very crystal clear about the concepts of bhakti. Only then one can discuss about rasas. If the basic definition of bhakti is not clear and its attributes are not clear, the siddhanta is not clear, so any discussion on rasa will be futile.
राइट राइट ओके थैंक यू
So, related to the previous question, uh, yes, it is called rasabhas only. When there are presence of contradictory feelings at the same time. So it is Srila Rup Goswami is basically warning in that section to not to commit such incompatibilities in their writings or in their dealings. So the presence of such contradictory feelings is called rasabhas when there are feelings which are contradicting to each other. So when there is rasabhas in any book of Krishna consciousness, a no learned scholar or devotee will accept that literature. That's why Srila Rupa Goswami do mention about this aspect as well. So we'll discuss once we reach towards the eighth wave of Northern Ocean. There it is discussed. So there are certain mixtures of rasas. I mean, there are incompatible mellows which do not cause distaste. So those are also discussed, and but the some are very incompatible and cannot be accepted. Just like hasya ras, the laughter, is usually incompatible with karuna ras, with lamentation or compassion. But in certain circumstances, when it is simply being remembered, does not produce. I mean, those are separate discussions. We'll discuss once we reach there. Okay, now about the introduction that we discussed so far. So this introduction basically have three topics. What are those three topics? First is Mangalacharan. The second is about a brief description of books content, and third is about so first is the invocation Mangalacharan, then there is a description about the book's content, and third is the definition of pure devotional service by Srila Rupa Goswami. So Mangalacharan, why can someone says why Mangalacharan is done? Why invocation? I mean, in any literature, if you see, even if you see Chaitanya Charitamrita, you see Srimad Bhagavatam. So the author usually writes the invocation. Why that invocation is done? Because it accomplishes three ends. First, Mangalacharan defines book's objective. Second, it allows author to offer obeisances. And third, it offers benedictions. Right? So Mangalacharan, it defines the book's objective, it offers obeisances, and it offers benedictions. Now the first six verses of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, they constitutes Mangalacharan. Prabhupada did not write verse by verse translation, and usually the style is like when Prabhupada is giving summary. So Prabhupada usually elaborates on certain concepts which he thinks are more related for his readers, and sometimes he can skip certain sections. So when Srila Prabhupada is writing summary, so that's the freedom that the author have. So usually when if you read introduction, the Mangalacharan is based upon the first six verses of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu of Srila Rupa Goswami. So can someone tell what is the book objective as we read in the introduction part? Just like Mangalacharan, first of all it defines the book's objective. So what is the objective of Nectar of Devotion? So the very first verse of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu defines the book's objective. What is the objective of this book? Anyone? It defines the book's objective is Sri Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead? Why Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead? If you have book, go through that book, introduction part. Anyone? Because he is reservoir of all rasas. He is Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Because Krishna is Akhila Rasamrit Murti, he is reservoir of all rasas. And Srila Prabhupada translate this verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 8.142. Let us read that verse. So this is that verse. Akhila Rasamrit Murti Prasramar Ruchi Rudh Tarak Kapali Kalita Shama Lalito Radha Prayan Vidhur Jayati. Akhila Rasamrit Murti means reservoir of all pleasure, in which exist all the mellows of devotional service, namely Shant, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. With any other form or feature or incarnation of Krishna, you cannot have reciprocation in all the rasas. Just like Mahaprabhu is there. Mahaprabhu is not different from Krishna, but if any devotee is cultivating Madhurya bhava with Mahaprabhu, that's not possible. And that is why Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur defines 13 sampradayas, up-sampradayas, deviation from the original Siddhanta. Some people portray Mahaprabhu doing Rasa Leela, so that is absolutely bogus. That is up-sampradaya. Only with Krishna we can have reciprocation in all rasas. Plus, spreading forth Ruchi by his bodily luster, Rudha, who has subjugated Taraka, the gopi named Taraka, Pali, the gopi named Pali, Kalita, who has absorbed the minds of Shama, the gopi named Shama, Lalita, and the gopi named Lalita. So, how many names are mentioned? Radha Prayan, dearmost to Srimati Radharani, Vidhu, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Jayati, all glories to. Let Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, be glorified. By virtue of his expanding attractive feature, he subjugated the gopis named Taraka and Pali and absorbed the minds of Shama and Lalita. He is the most attractive lover of Srimati Radharani and is a reservoir of pleasure for devotees in all transcendental mellows. Akhila Rasamrita Murti. And Prabhupada here in the introduction compares Lord Narayan to a high court judge. If someone just like Lord Narayan is also Vishnu Tat, but it's like Krishna in the office form. If someone is in the going to his official place, he would manifest a particular aspect, but the full expression of one's full personality is viewed only in the privacy of one's home, right? Even the person who is judge, he would reveal his intimate and sweet nature with his parents. He would be obedient and faithful. With his friends, he would be confidential and jovial. With his spouse, he would be a passionate lover. So, Lord Narayan performs the creation role of God, wherein he reveals only his opulence and majesty. But at home, in Vrindavan, the fullness of his wonderfully sweet personality blossoms. Therefore, Srila Rup Goswami here addresses Vrindavan Krishna as Akhila Rasamrit Murti. and therefore he singles him out that Vrindavan Krishna is the objective of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, not any other incarnation, not any other expansion. It is Akhila Rasamrit Murti. Vrindavan Krishna is the objective of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And here in this verse, as we see, Srila Rup Goswami groups these 5 different gopis, and these are also actually based upon the according to intensity of their affection for Krishna. For example, Taraka and Palika, Shama and Lalita, and Srimati Radharani. So Krishna subjugates Tarak and Palika simply by his attractive features, which are very radiant. He controls them. And he absorbs Shama and Lalita by taking them into his intimate circles. And Srimati Radharani is the dearest to Krishna. He, Krishna himself, becomes her submissive lover, Radha Prayan. So Krishna, who is the lover of Srimati Radharani and reservoir of all rasas, is the object and goal of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Is it clear? So then the next paragraph of introduction deals with the second verse of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. What is the next paragraph? Here, Srila Rup Goswami offers obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally taught him the science of Bhakti Rasa. Srila Rup Goswami is also a Rasa Acharya. So it was by the order of and inspiration of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Rup Goswami wrote this literature, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And therefore, Srila Rupa Prabhupada also, he was instructed in Krishna consciousness by his own spiritual master. And therefore, Prabhupada is paying obeisances to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Rupa Goswami. Then is the third paragraph deals with the third verse of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, where Rup Goswami offers obeisances to his Guru. Like in the second paragraph, just like Rup Goswami offers obeisances to Mahaprabhu, because I mean, just like Rup Goswami was instructed by Mahaprabhu in the science of devotional service, similarly Prabhupada was inspired and instructed by Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur, and he is paying obeisances to his spiritual master and Srila Rup Goswami. And the third, here you will see this second paragraph. Then in the third paragraph, which is the third verse, Rup Goswami is paying obeisances to his spiritual master. That means Sanatan Goswami. And he writes, the goal of the purpose of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu to write this literature is to please him, is to please Sanatan Goswami. Then let us come to the fourth verse. The fourth verse is translation to the fourth paragraph is the translation to the fourth verse, wherein they're paying obeisances to all the great devotees and acharyas. So let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the great devotees and acharyas who are compared to shark in the great ocean of nectar and who do not care for the various rivers of liberation. Can someone say why they are compared to the shark? Am I audible? Uh, okay. Yeah. There are various reasons they are compared to the shark. But see, if you see the shark never lives in anything apart from ocean. You cannot find a shark in a river, or you cannot find shark in a pond or a lake or any other water body. Sharks you will find only in ocean. Similarly, devotees, they always relish the nectarian ocean of devotion and they are never attracted to lesser pleasure. That's one reason. Second reason is sharks reject the rivers. Similarly, devotees reject the conception of even liberation, Sahivjay Mukti. They reject that. And third, sharks are never caught by fishermen's net. It's not that you can simply go in the ocean and put a net and just like you catch fish, you can catch shark. No, because similarly, because devotees swim deep in that ocean of devotional service, they are never caught in the fisherman's net. And what is that fisherman's net? Cycle of birth and death. And similarly, in the subsequent, in the next paragraph, in the fifth paragraph, Srila Rup Goswami invokes a benediction. Just like Mangalacharan, we discussed has three aspects. One is offering, defining the objective of the book. Second is offering obeisances. And third is offering benediction. Similarly, here Rup Goswami, he is defining the objective. Who is the objective of this book? Who is the objective of this book? No, not simply Krishna. Akhila Rasamrit Murtihi. Every one of you should remember this terminology. It's very important. Not Rasraj, not Krishna. It is Akhila Rasamrita Murtihi. Akhila Rasamrita Murtihi. Vrindavan Krishna is the goal of this book. Then second part of the invocation, Srila Rupa Goswami is paying obeisances to Mahaprabhu. They're paying obeisances to his spiritual master Sanatan Goswami. He's paying obeisances to all the acharyas who, and they're compared to the sharks. And then in the third aspect, he's offering benediction. So he invokes a benediction for the protection of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu from argumentative logicians. Can someone says he compares the arguments and logics to what? He compares arguments and logics to dash.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, volcanic eruptions in the midst of the ocean.
Yes. Why he compares to the volcanic eruptions?
Because in the midst of the ocean, volcanic eruptions can do very little harm. And similarly, those who are against the devotional service to the Lord, who put forward many philosophical theses about these
Yes.
ultimate central realization, cannot
Yeah,
disturb.
there may be complete volcano, absolutely. But what harm can it do when it is in the middle of an ocean? Similarly, devotees who are diving deep into this ocean, they are not affected by so-called dry logic and speculations, and they put forward so many philosophical theses, but they cannot disturb this ocean. However, they may try, but they cannot disturb the ocean of devotion. And in the last of the verse of invocation, that is the sixth verse, Srila Rup Goswami expresses his humble attitude and attributes, and he writes that the inspiration to write this literature is from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he describes himself as incompetent to accomplish this task. And wherein Srila Prabhupada writes how this attitude is so important for all the preachers of Krishna conscious movement, that we should always consider that we are simply instrumental to the previous acharyas, and simply by following their footsteps we may be able to do something and for the benefit of suffering humanity. And Srila Rup Goswami explains that his eagerness to write Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu stems from the desire to please the devotees. And in this way, he is offering benediction to his readers that anyone who will read this literature, he would achieve transcendental happiness. That is a benediction that Srila Rupa Goswami offers. Then, in the later part of the introduction, Srila, like from the verse 7 to 9, I think this introduction is actually the translation of first 18 verses. So the first 6 verses are of Mangalacharan, and in Mangalacharan 3 tasks were accomplished. Now in the verses 7 and 9 he explains about the contents of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, and we already discussed that, how it is Dakshin Vibhag, Purvi Vibhag, Uttari Vibhag, right? Paschimi Vibhag. He discusses how it is divided into different Vibhags and layers. Now in the remaining section he defines what is pure devotional service, what is authority in pure devotional service. And Prabhupada explains that verse in this introduction. Anyabhilashita shunyam gyan karmadhyanabritam anukulyena krishna anushilanam bhaktir uttama. And this verse is the most important verse in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. It is the primary verse, sutra of this entire verse, of this entire literature. So we'll discuss something more about this verse tomorrow. It's already 12:30. So we'll stop here.
Prabhuji, I wanted to ask.
Sorry.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, where can we get these verses, the ones you all talking?
Where we can get what?
Actually, I have this book, Nectar of Devotion,
Okay.
but the verses saying from where do we get it? It's not in the book.
Yeah, it is summary study. You won't get the verses in this book. If you want verses, verse by verse of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, it has 2000 verses. It comes, His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj has translated this book, and Bhanu Swami Maharaj is based in ISKCON Chennai. So you can get that Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu either from ISKCON Mayapur, ISKCON Vrindavan, or ISKCON Chennai. I have seen at these 3 places at least. It might be available at more places. You can check online if it's available. Bhakti
Okay, Prabhuji,
Rasamrit Sindhu
when you're
by
discussing the verse,
Yeah,
when you're discussing the verse, if you can just display the verse so that we can note it down.
yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Any other question?
प्रभु जी आपने फर्स्ट क्लास में you showed us a slide in which the Sanskrit verses was there. So if you can share that, because we are not able to find online nectar of devotion.
Which verse you are?
Qualities of characteristics of devotional services. The words was there.
Yeah, I'll show them tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other?
Hare Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, this rasa is different from opulences. It is related or different from opulences of it.
No,
Like
it's
say Krishna
totally
is
different thing. Totally different thing. Rasa is a mellow, just like there is a juice in a fruit. So similarly, relationships are compared to fruit. Rasa is something which inspires you to do a particular act. Just like Prabhupada gives an example, a person, a family man, he works hard day and night. Why? Because he's trying to find a certain juice in the relationship with his wife and children. So rasa is altogether different, mellow.
okay.
It's a juice or certain kind of happiness that you experience. It's not exactly
Okay.
feeling, but that's why probably it's a rasa which inspires you for a particular. But opulence is altogether different. Opulence is Aishwarya. So there are six
Okay.
kinds of opulences: beauty, wealth, power, fame. All those are opulences. Renunciation, knowledge. So these are six types of opulence. So when one have opulences, it makes a person attractive. But if you don't have a relationship with that person, you won't get any rasa. You won't get any mellow.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Anything else?
We say Akhil Rasamrit Murti. Is this means Krishna, or we would say Krishna is Akhil Rasamrit Murti?
Akhila Rasamrit Murtihi.
Is Krishna.
Yeah, it's Krishna. He's a reservoir of all rasas. Fine, we'll
Thank
stop
you.
here and we'll continue tomorrow. If possible, please do recite those verses. Keep practicing them. I will. It will take, I think, one more session. Wanted to summarize what we are. Uh, I mean, just the overview and in which direction we'll be navigating. Because then once we start, we should have a clear cut, a bird's eye view, what this book is all about and how we are navigating it forward.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
One last question. Which among these four waves is the longest section or the division in terms of distribution of verses?
Why you are asking that?
Just for my
Uh,
information.
More than longer, I mean, it's
Or it is
the
equal.
complexity of the philosophical points that are mentioned here. It's actually, I think, the first, those chapters only about sadhana bhakti.
So Eastern wave is the largest one.
Never analyzed in from that point of view. Would need to check. But doesn't matter. Some are longer but less philosophical. Some are shorter but they have such great depth. Just like there's only one chapter on Prema Bhakti. Doesn't mean that Prema Bhakti is less than the Sadhana Bhakti, which has 16 chapters. So the depths of Prema Bhakti is uh, is immeasurable in one sense.
Right.
I have never personally never analyzed in those terms. I can check.
Okay. Since we are doing overview, that's why I just asked you.
Yes.
And
Oh,
one more question, like six opulences versus the rasas. So does it mean that all other incarnations also has the same six opulences of, but they don't have all those rasas? They differ in terms of rasas.
no, the opulence, they may, yes, they, from one point of view, they may have opulence, but they don't manifest opulence in the way that Krishna manifests. Just like a bulb
So
may
that's why.
have a capacity of 100 watt, but it manifests only till 60 watt. So all Vishnu Tattvas are in one, from philosophical point of view, they are non-different from Krishna. But the opulence they manifest in a particular incarnation are not same as the opulence that are manifested by Krishna.
Right.
Krishna is,
Right.
that is why Krishna is Akhila Rasamrit Murti. That is why Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes. Thank you, bro.
Anything else? I will stop here. Fine. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanande. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Please do read those section if you get opportunity. Spend some time. Prabhupada says repeatedly go through these sections. And I hope these those assignments, how is it going? I just wanted to take quick feedback. Are you able to do, facing any challenges? How is it going with all of you? Prabhupada tapes and then going through those questions. Is it working fine for devotees? Fine. Okay, thank you. Hare